These new infantrymen and their trainers are America's 21st century Spartans. They are an element of that small segment of our population that guards the national wall of defense. And as arrogant as this will sound, it's what makes them better than the average young man. Not better in a material, snide, or arrogant sort of way, but better as it relates to doing something versus hanging out in a coffee shop, talking and criticizing. Anyone can talk about what should be done in a given moment, but most won't do anything about it. You see it every day in your television screens, all sorts of so-called experts with great-sounding titles and articles that have been published. They're always ready to give advice, but never ready to pick up a rifle, ruck up, and close with the enemy. For my money, there are two kinds of men that walk the earth: men of action and all others. What stands before you are men of action. I'm not talking about a random, haphazard sort of action. I'm talking about a deliberate, measured, and when required, intensely focused action. To be sitting in the safety of your home several years into a war, subjected to the 24/7 media coverage of that same war and its brutality, and then to decide to go and sign up for the Army Infantry says an awful lot about a man's character. To stick it out at a time when so many in our society look daily for a reason to quit says a great deal about a man's heart, the support he gets from his family, and his ability to see a larger picture. Anyone can start, but not everyone has the heart to finish. Not one infantryman you see standing before you really wants to go into harm's way and risk it all. But their moral clarity won't allow them to sit back and let someone else provide the blanket of freedom that we here today cherish and so many others take for granted. You're looking at the newest members of that unique band of brotherhood that is the infantry. Today, your young men join that same fraternity as those that stormed the beaches at Normandy, hunted the enemy in the Ashaw Valley in Vietnam, parachuted into Panama, beat incredible odds in the streets of Mogadishu, Somalia, and currently subdue our enemies in both Iraq and Afghanistan. When policymakers finish talking, when debate has ceased, when negotiations have failed and orders are given, it becomes the mission of the young men before you to execute national policy. These young men are the substance behind any policy undertaken by this country deemed important enough to send men into harm's way. Absolute proof positive that the United States means business when their boots hit the ground. The reasons for enlisting in the Army are varied and often deeply personal, but it's what makes them truly the best and the brightest that we have in this country. And I'm not saying that to be nice, I say that because I fervently believe it. The best and the brightest are not necessarily on campus or in the corporate boardroom right now. The best and the brightest are you out there in the parade field. Men, don't ever think for 1 minute that the kids running around on some university campus protesting, breaking things, or whining about this, that, and the other have anything on you. You are privileged to have the one advantage that they all covet. You will know. You'll have facts about the goings-on in Iraq, Afghanistan, Djibouti, the Philippines, the Balkans, and many other places. Your head will not be filled with the empty theory of those who in actuality know very little because they lack the intestinal fortitude to commit to anything that requires risk. I'm speaking of the snide, arrogant sort who spend the day blaming America for every wrong in the world before going home to sleep at night under that blanket of freedom provided by better men just like you. I know that these complimentary words may come as a surprise to some of you because we've tried to be hard on you. Hard because what lies ahead will be tremendously challenging and for many the defining chapter of your lives. Life as an infantryman is not easy, and the collective goal of those of us charged with your training has been to make sure that you understand that. Your drill sergeants, like many sitting behind me on this stage and scattered throughout the crowd, know what waits. And our sacred duty is to ensure that you are not surprised. The vast majority of your drill sergeants and your company commanders have been to the battlefield, and that fact cannot be overstated. They have put into action what they have taught you. They have moved under fire, they have seen the enemy up close, and they know that this endeavor is deadly serious. You will, as the drill sergeant already has, hump the steep mountains of Afghanistan with a 120-pound rucksack on your back, gasping for breath in the thin mountain air in pursuit of the enemy, quadricep muscles screaming, back aching, sleep and rest not forthcoming. Your drill sergeant has fought in Iraq, and he walked, as you soon will, the mean streets of places like Fallujah or Al-Ramadi, conducting raids or the physically demanding and mentally dreading house-to-house search for the enemy. You react to IEDs, and you'll fight the enemy from 10 feet away, close combat in its truest form, under 60 pounds of equipment and body armor, and temperatures that make a normal Georgia summer day seem mild. This is why duty demanded that the training present a challenge. It's why you did all those push-ups and will do thousands more. It's why you ran all those miles and will run many more. It's why you fired hundreds of rounds, why you ran, hit the ground, and kept going. It's why you marched and marched with no end in sight. It's why you can take that rifle apart and reassemble it in the dark. It's why your parents can see the change in you simply by the way you stand. And most importantly, it's why you have begun to appreciate the brotherhood and pure camaraderie that has gleamed through nights spent in the muggy Georgia heat next to your battle buddy in the pouring rain, finding humor in your predicament, sharing a cold MRE and realizing that you're forming bonds at moments such as these that will truly last a lifetime. Men, you are headed to the most complicated battlefield in the history of warfare, an asymmetric three-block war, if you will. You'll engage in vicious close combat on one block, protect children as they attend school on the next, and restore water and power on the third. All of this simultaneously. You will, on a daily basis, make life or death decisions with only the time it takes to blink one's eye to process, decide, and take action. You will often find yourselves as part mayor, district chief, police chief, and arbitrator of disagreements among ethnicities and tribes as varied as your own 50 states. You will personify daily the euphemism of the strategic corporal. A decision that you make under duress, with little time for reflection or thought, may quite literally impact the actions of policy custodians in our nation's capital. That's not hype, fellas. It's fact. You're the latest band of brothers, miles away from the flagpole and making things happen the very best way you can. The techno wannabes in the corporate world can't begin to fathom the vast responsibility that you've accepted. You will be scrutinized like no warriors before you, expected to eradicate our enemies, pacify the critics, and abide by the rules of land warfare as only we and our true allies seem committed to doing. You'll hold more responsibility and do more in the next few years than most people will do in an entire lifetime. High expectations to be sure, but you will succeed because you're the 21st century American Spartan, sometimes alone, but never afraid. You'll quell any storm, and you'll always ride the thunder. You'll be great daily and absolutely magnificent when faced with adversity. Let me say 6 final things to the graduating soldiers. Number 1, I'll see many of you in Iraq later this year. When you see me, come up and say hello. Don't quiver and quake like you typically do when I walk into a room. Secondly, draw your energy in the days ahead from your family, those that are here today and who have traveled a long way to see you, and who in some cases did so under great financial or physical duress. Write and call them frequently. Your family will often be your greatest strength in the days ahead, and don't ever forget that. Third, as I've said to each new soldier I've welcomed into the Army, this is the life that you chose. I'll say it again for emphasis. This is the life that you chose. It's not risk-free, nor is it always easy. But in the humble opinion of this proud grunt, it has always been a life well worth living. There is no more noble profession than that one of which you are now a member. It's a portion of your life spent in the cold, hot, snow, or rain, facing danger during war and peace, while making the best friends you'll ever have. Guys will have your back no matter what life brings. Number 4, don't let the pessimistic television talking heads, the highbrow newspaper writers, Hollywood idiots, or any other faction of the Blame America First crowd get you down. I'm speaking here of the latte biscotti crowd. They are simple background shadow men, and they will always exist on the periphery of any endeavor that requires selfless service or loyalty. They are not worthy of your concern, and truth be told, in the pit of their fickle, cowardly hearts, they wish they could be just like you. The intestinal fortitude that is a part of your fabric is something that they covet but will never know. 5th, I, for one, will never, ever apologize for being an American, and don't you ever feel that you have to. We're not perfect, but I can think of no better place on earth. We didn't become the great country we are by accident. We earned it. And while we were at it, we kept and continue to keep a large portion of the world free. Just ask the veterans that are here today. American blood and sacrifice is the indisputable part of the world equation. We keep a large portion of the world free, and no matter what disaster strikes, tsunamis, floods, earthquakes, we're the ones that show up first to help. An American aircraft carrier, American soldiers, American Marines, Air Force transport planes flying in supplies, and even local American church groups. More people in this world are trying to come to our shores than any other country. We remain the beacon of hope for many, and God willing, it'll always be so. We're number 1. Don't ever apologize for it. Just be damn proud of it. And finally, but most importantly to you as infantrymen, stand tall, suck it up when things get hard, and remember that they can and usually will get harder. Stay aggressive. Keep your weapons clean and your bayonets sharp. Parents never stop worrying, so write and call them often. Never panic. Once you do, you've lost. Always waterproof your gear. Watch out for one another. Remember that when things look the worst, you will need each other the most. Remain steady. Hydrate. Do PT every day. Keep your head on a swivel. Remember that it's always better to be the one to deliver the blow. Be proud to be called a grunt, and remember that you are this country's 21st century Spartan. America is relying on you as you assume your post in the National Wall of Defense. May God bless you and protect each and every one of you. Thank you very much.